What's up, guys? It's Dylan, back with another Toy Lips action figure review. This time on the Jazwares Halo Spartan Collection Yoroi. Some type of sick new samurai design in celebration of the new game, Infinte. We are just like just a couple days away from that. 3 days away from that. I don't know when this is going up. This will go up in a couple of days. I got some stuff before this. That game's gonna be out. The game's gonna be out. I'll shut up now. No, I won't. That's what we're doing here. Let's take a look at this sucker, right? If you guys are familiar with these, you've seen what's going on in here. We get these nice, sharp-looking 6.5-inch scale Spartans accessories, and they all come with hands. On the back, you get this nice picture. So let's just get into this sucker, yeah? He just peels open. And look at that. He's just on his nice little tray. Get rid of all of that. Looking real sharp. Disruptor. Fatty disruptor. Energy sword. Appropriate for the samurai-styled armor. And a bunch of hands that are all stuck in here and gonna come tumbling down, dog. Okay, pop him out of there. First impressions, it's very nicely detailed. You get these dry brushing effects, all kinds of paint front and back. These are nice, soft, pliable pieces, and you're going to have really solid articulation. There's just typically something that's a little off about these, but they are much nicer out of package. All right, the Spartan Yoroi, John Boy, Momokichi Momoi. Dialing into the deco here, this is a really nice looking figure. There doesn't really seem to be any reuse, as this is a whole new sculpt on all of this here. As it's a variation on the Mjolnir power armor. This is the Yoroi. Get hip to it, jerk. They've brought back the nice vac metal visors too. That was gone for a minute. It's my first time seeing this new wave of all of the ones, you know. I cherry picked these, and I figured this would be the one. This is a lot of new stuff, and you try to decide. It's a tough world, you know. You get the one you want the most, right? But that's not it. You got to decide, well, which one is not going to be readily available later? Probably this one, because everyone's such a jerk, right? They're like, I want the Samurai Halo. Let me get the Samurai Halo. They had another iteration of the Master Chief, and then even another one from Halo 2 with this neon green, and that's cool. You know, they all look sweet, really. I mean, all things being equal, I would have all of them, but then I would also have those NECA aliens that they've got from the Alien vs. Predator, styled like the game. Man, those are hot. But we're talking about this toy, and it looks really nice. You get all this paint detail, and there's some kind of like silver dry brush with the gold, and it looks like it's molded in red. These pieces are soft and pliable. If you've touched these, you know what they feel like. It's this harder plastic. I don't know if that makes that a PVC. Maybe that's an ABS still. Whatever. Sculpted samurai armor all the way down this thing. We've got a whole bunch of gibberish on the back of the leg there. But look at that, man. This thing is really clean. Just a flat black under here, but still. I mean, they put their budget here, because that Halo 2 Chief, I guess the look is right. Articulation, you get this head on a ball joint up here. You can see this hinge that comes way down. Lets you get that, but with the helmet deal, it is a little pliable, but you're not going to get any back, really. You can't look up much at all to speak of. Okay, shoulders are on ball joints here. And those will rotate all the way around. They'll come up this far. The way this is kind of sculpted, it's flared out too, so it doesn't really restrict you, which is great. And then the bicep, it does rotate on that ball. It's kind of nice the way they do that. They can get away with this in an armor, whereas that would look funny on a human, right? Double jointed elbows. Shove that sucker way up there. That's pretty good. The peg, it looks like it's a red peg, so it looks legit out. Yeah, on both ends, except for, yeah, back in here, it's red as well. Could take a dot of paint. Wrists are hinged. These come in pretty well, actually. And standard, again, if you've touched these, they'll have this diaphragm cut that doesn't, or some kind of waist twist. It doesn't really turn very far, I think because of the way that it's sculpted. If you tear that in half, you see that's just a straight ball peg. Just sockets right down into that. Find some way to just give us like a full waist twist. That would be great. Because you come down here, we're going to have to lift your skirt a little, bud. And you can see these Hips are also ball joints, so they'll come out pretty far. Good range forward, and backwards not as much. There's a little more resistance. There's just a heavy gauge butt piece. That is what that is. Double jointed knee. It's actually a center section that's huge, just huge. So you can bring this back here and you can bend on that pretty good. You can see, again, the pegs here they just had red pegs all around. They just didn't have black pegs. Why wouldn't you just have black pegs as well? Because this is so far removed. It's almost inexcusable, except, man, it's just a tiny friggin' dot in there. So who cares? But you know what I mean? That's like, there's no red anywhere near that. So they obviously, they were just red pegs only, which is fun. Don't you let me run into some black pegs on another figure in this wave, man. I'll kill somebody. But moving down here, you get this nice foot articulation. It goes really far back and way up like this, say. And there's not really any rocker, though. It just kind of has some play on that joint, right? That is what's happening. Yeah, so that's interesting, especially considering you do get a toe articulation. It comes up, well, all the way, folds up, and then comes way down. Like, whose foot does that, man? Nobody's foot does that. If it's one or the other, I would rather have the rocker. The toe articulation was never that big for me. I mean, it helps with the realism of, say, like a running pose. He's going to be charging into the fray, So that's fine. That's fine. But rocker, man, pretty standard. Guess if you bring these out far enough, it does kind of, between all of the moving parts, it stands pretty flat. So these are pretty well articulated. I was a big fan of the McFarlane series from years ago. And so I was kind of scoffing at these when Jazwares first started releasing them. But I broke down and I picked up a couple, and it is really nice. They feel a little different in your hand, It's also a classic case of the figures being much better when you get them out of the package. So I was tripping on that sort of how bland they kind of looked, and that is obviously not the case anymore. And again, these kick and vac metal visors, and they'll have accessory storage in the form of these little points you'll find typically on the legs, but on this one it's on his back. You flip this little piece around, and you get a little knob there. A little knob for mounting sidearms, weapons, accessories, and such. We'll get into that right about now. So in addition to just this array of hands, which has been standard with these Spartan series figures, which is great, they usually each come with a couple of weapons too. We get the Disruptor and an energy sword. And this thing is really nicely detailed. I love these. It's got that handle, and it just has this mock. There's, it's a translucent plastic with a couple colors of paint, 3 colors of paint on the accessory even. That is great. This Disruptor is a couple of colors as well. And you see this actually has a peg hole on it. You could port this right onto the back. Like so. And then you could sort of grab that. Why would you, yeah, no, that's great. Because you're going to want, these pop on and off pretty easily. They, these are actually a little nicer than like Marvel Legends even, that are built to be swapping. I mean, I've had hands that are basically coming apart already, That's unfortunate. These are really well done in that regard. It looks like that's splayed just right so you can hold this thing if you look closely. Yeah. Energy sword. That is way cool. Kind of sweep those aside there. And then, of course, we do have trigger fingers for holding the Disruptor. Oh, peg came right off with it. That'll be fine. Wrestle this on there just for effect, huh? It's hot. Look at all that sculpting and paintwork, man. It's hot, son. Pretty happy with that, man. You can't really... Hard to complain. All right, so that Spartan Yoroi, Spartan John LaJoy, he's like 7 1/8 inches tall to the top of his crest. That perfectly superficial, you know what I mean? It's all about style. How did we get here? It's form over function, right? We're just sort of lathering ourselves up and stroking it to the samurai culture, yeah? I mean, I love it. Your father loves it. Your old Aunt Netta watches it every night on the VCR. Hammering home some kicking comparisons, we've got the Series 1 figures right here. Got the Mark V in white and Cat with the Spartan laser. How about a little holiday samurai sandwich? We got the Master Chief in green and the Mark VII in red. Those beautiful blingin' vac metal visors. When they released a second series of the Spartan Collection, gone were the trigger fingers, inexplicably. They all still came with a bunch of guns. You know what I'm saying? You got that Gungnir in orange, and everyone was creaming for Emil. That knife is removable too on his shoulder pauldron. That is fantastic. I loved how it was fairly standard in that every character came with a handful of hands and a couple of weapons each. A main and a sidearm. Meanwhile, you get a Marvel Legend that just comes with nothing. Nothing! These are a little bulkier. They use a little more plastic. The license is, I'm sure, expensive. Not as much as Marvel Comics. Probably. But these really are nice figures. I'm stoked on these. I don't know why I don't have them all. I am a sick piece of garbage. I have a couple from the Series 3. They've taken away the vac metal visors. And I think, yeah, there's still no trigger fingers looking over here. I had to get Noble 6, my boy. From Jazwares. From Jazz Bones. And if we could all lift our nostalgia blinders for a minute, here is an earlier McFarlane Toys Halo 3 Master Chief. The detail, the paintwork, and sculpt on those, it is just great. The articulation, I mean, it's a little tough to play with, you know what I mean? I think these newer iterations from Jazwares are better figures all around. They're a lot more fun to touch and twist, you know. To each their own, man. Hoard them all up. What are you going to do? Right? The McFarlane stuff, they had drop pods and all kinds of cool stuff. And I think we'll see more and more of that if we support this small-scale World of Halo line. And the McFarlane one does exist in a scale like right in between. It was like a 5-inch because Todd always got to be different. Okay, and for a couple of other armored figure comparisons, we have the Marvel Legends Avengers Infinity War Machine and the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman White Knight Azrael Batman. Hey, I don't name these things, man. I just say all the words in succession and you can decide how ridiculous they sound. And for a couple of other samurai-styled figures, we have the Marvel Legends Silver Samurai, rocking the black blade as he should be. What up, Wade? And the NECA Ninja Turtles Cartoon Shredder. All these figures right here are killer. If you're missing some of these, man, you should just buy them all. I don't even work for these guys, but you should buy them all. Just for yourself. Do yourself a favor. Stop what you're doing and play with more toys. And standard 6-inch being my bread and butter and possibly the most ubiquitous toy scale, we have the Marvel Legends 2 Emo for Pizza Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Morning Coffee, mostly Bucky Cap Deadpool. Better switch to decaf. At the end of the day, this Jazwares Halo Spartan Collection Yoroi is a dope figure. I really don't have much bad to say about it. I feel like in general, people are kind of sleeping on these Halo figures. They maybe look a little plain on the shelf. Definitely not this guy, though. The articulation is pretty great. It gets kind of gummy in some places and maybe a little restricted, but it's really not. It's really not that bad. It moves around great, poses pretty well. He is a dude in a suit of armor with samurai deco in this case. I really want to give this a 5 out of 5. I do. I almost want to say like a 4.5, dock at some points because just little nitpicks, man. But really, these guys should be rewarded for putting something together like this with all this extra deco, paint detail, dry brushes, the array of hands that is standard across these lines, and that they all come with 2 accessories, 2 different weapons. And you have these little flip over ports so it doesn't break up the sculpt if you don't want it to, and you can store that sidearm on his back like that. I love that. I'm stoked on this figure, man. This one at least gets a 5. It's just a dope figure in general. What was that Play Arts that was doing like those riffs on like Marvel and Star Wars characters in like samurai flavor, but they cost like 80 or 100 or what, $150. I don't know. I didn't even look that close at those prices because I wasn't gonna pay all that for that. But this is just like a regular figure, and it's a take on a Halo Spartan in samurai, and it's in universe. And it's in universe. People are about to be running around on the internet straight murdering each other in a friendly way here real soon. It's already been happening. You know what I mean? Here we are. Get this thing, man. I think it's great. You pay 20 bucks for this somewhere and you're not even going to be mad. I hope they keep it up with the consistency on the accessories. Don't take anything away, man. Only give us more if you want to. And stay on that vac metal visor. That really, it's these little touches that put it over the top, you know? Hasbro is like the biggest in the game, but listen to all the nitpicks you get there. It's the lack of paint detail or straight lack of any accessories at all. Don't be those guys, man. You guys have a good thing going here with these Halo toys, and I would just like to see it grow and improve. Thank you to Jazwares and for everybody who's sticking around here. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about this stuff in the comments, man. Spread it around. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
I got fingers on my lips. Toys that I'm touching, I don't want to put them down. Instead, I want to talk about them. Yes, fresh. Smell the plastic that I crave. I want to shop. I can't be having Bruce Banner. I'm Dr. Rubber Band on Bruce Jenner. And you can call me after dinner. We can talk comic books, but we're here to talk toys. Be proud, make noise.